Preparing to live stream the meeting.
You're on.
I'm on. You can see me?
Yep, it says meeting is now streaming live.
Yeah, I can see that in the top left-hand corner.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order then. The March 18th Board of Directors meeting. And Karen, can you call the roll for us, please?
Sure. I just need to call board members, correct? Okay. Should we be Mr. Mitchell?
Steve to you, but okay.
Okay. Steve,
As you like, yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Neil,
Present.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right. And
Jake
Neil
is
and
coming.
Jake will join us later.
And Jake will be arriving. Okay, we have 5 sets of minutes that we need to approve. And Melanie informs us that there is a small error in the last 3 sets. The special board meeting minutes for February the 22nd, 23rd, and 26th, where Melanie neglected to title herself as the interim Parks and Rec director. And so we do need a motion to change those 2 sets of minutes.
That was
Wrong.
on, I'm sorry, what was the date on those? The 22nd?
Yeah, 22nd, 23rd, and 26th. It's the last 3 sets of minutes.
I have her down. Are you talking about at the top where it says who's present?
In the back where I signed them.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh,
Gotcha.
service director instead of,
Gotcha. Well, it says on February 22nd, it says under your signature, interim service director.
she's interim park director.
He's interim park and rec.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, okay.
On a good day, I am the service director, but you
Yes.
know.
Okay, then
So
I think,
I would like to move that
Make that
if,
correction.
to the, yes, to move that correction.
can we just hang on a second, because I think I've spotted something else. You have on the 22nd, you've titled yourself the interim service director, Melanie.
On the 20,
On the signature part.
Yes, on the signature part. Shouldn't
Right.
that just say service director
no, it should say interim parks and rec director.
instead of interim service director?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry for the confusion.
All right. So,
I don't
So-
understand. You're wearing how many hats? I mean,
right.
okay.
So then, yes, we need to change interim service director to interim parks and recreation director.
Correct.
Could I also request that from now on then, rather than Parks and Recreation Board Chairman, it either be chair or chairperson? I'd like us to come up to speed with appropriate
Your
language.
pronouns?
Yes, I think so.
I get it.
I think, yeah, the 26th, you're also down there as interim service director. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm guessing we need a motion to make both of those changes
Make those corrections, yeah.
to the sets of, well, the one change to 3 sets of minutes and the other change to all 5, I think.
Yeah. I think Kathleen made that motion. Am I right, Kathleen?
Yes, I'd like to move to change the Melanie signature on the 3 sets that we need to change.
Mhm.
And would you like me to do the other one as well?
If we can do them all in one motion, why don't we
Okay,
do
and then
that,
I'd
yeah?
also like to include in that changing the term to chairperson, please.
Thank you.
Chairperson or just chair? Do you have a strong opinion, Steve?
No,
Jake says, please let him in.
I don't have a strong opinion either
Strong
way.
opinion. Okay, well, you made the motion, Kathleen. You get to decide.
Chairperson.
Debbie, tell him to come back. He left.
Oh,
Can we have a second for that motion, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Neil. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, so we'll call the question, and Karen, can you call the roll on that, please?
Steve, how do you vote?
Yes.
Debbie,
yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Jake, Kathleen.
Yes.
I I lost Jake. I saw him for a second. He's
sent him.
gone.
All right. Well, we can record him as not present for the vote, I suppose. The minutes, those two motions would still pass. And now we have 5 sets of minutes to approve. And so I'm hoping you've had the opportunity to go through them because, they are quite thorough. And what I don't think we want to do tonight is spend a lot of time reviewing, particularly the board minutes from February the 18th. The special board meeting minutes are really just the motion to move into executive session, but the minutes for February the 18th are quite thorough. Yeah, they're quite lengthy. So
I read through and I didn't see anything that struck me as not correct.
right, I didn't either. Could I get
I can make that motion.
yeah, let's have a motion to approve all 5 sets of minutes. We can do them all in one motion.
I will make that motion to approve all 5 sets as presented with the corrections already noted.
Thanks, Debbie. And a second, please.
I'll
Now
second.
second.
I think Jake got in
Jake
first.
made
there,
it just
so-
by the skin of his teeth.
There we go.
So I would encourage you just to have a quick sift through, pass over the February the 18th minutes. Just take a look at those if you haven't done so already. I'll give you just a moment to do that. Again, thank you, Karen. Fabulous detail on this.
Thank you. The Zoom meeting helps.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
I still take notes though.
mhm.
All right, so we have a motion on the table for approval of the 5 sets of minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about any of them, particularly February the 18th?
Okay.
No, then
All the
we'll
questions.
call the question and the roll, please, Karen.
Steve,
Yes?
Debbie,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Jake.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. So that, I don't think we have any personal appearances, other than everyone who's here. I don't believe we have any incoming correspondence or outgoing correspondence. Am I correct, Karen?
Correct.
All right, which brings us straight down to goodness. We've covered 5 items on the agenda already.
Right.
Way to go,
but,
chairperson.
But the meat of it, of course, is in the staff reports. So we've got the tables for monthly revenue and monthly expenditures. Nancy, are you talking to those 2 parts of the agenda? Or do we just take a look at them and ask any questions that we have?
The what, Steve?
The revenue and expenditures, A and B on staff
Oh.
reports.
I mean, if there's any questions, yeah, I can answer any of those.
Yeah, so well, I would just say, take a look at those, folks. The revenue comes first and then the expenses. So when I look at financial documentation like this, it's really not my area. So I just look for either numbers that are really big or numbers that are really small. And so, of course, the one that jumps out at me is the $11,000 on the expenditure for the fitness center. That's presumably that's rental. Is that for 4 months?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
That's rent. And we do that quarterly.
right. Oh, so that's 3 months, right?
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Let me think here. I don't have that documentation. I believe it's for 4 months. It's
Yeah,
for
it
4
says-
months.
It says January through April.
Oh, yeah, it's for 4 months.
Yeah, okay. I'm guessing that's just the going rate, yeah?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
If only we could present, and show how actually having our own property would be a cost savings in the long run. That will come.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it will. So if you look through, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to speak up.
I see on here, it says a food service license for Kramer Field. Is that for the concession stand?
Yes.
but there's nobody selling anything right now.
Where is that, Neil?
It's on the first page.
The ledger.
It's for 520.
That should be, Neil, that's for both of them, the rec center and the Kramer ball fields. For Megan at the rec center.
Okay, it must have got cut off because all it just says Kramer and, so I didn't know what else and that was.
Yeah, that would be the
It
rec
just
center.
says and.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that's to the Kent Health Department. Okay.
Right.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Good. So that brings us then to the park report. Sam?
Yeah, the two big ones, we've been able to get on every ball field. We got out to Long Coy, which hadn't seen any work for basically a year. The guys tore it up really well. We got some ball field mix delivered. We're waiting for the rain today so we can see where our low spots are. And we'll go in, fill in the low spots. And the guys actually went out this week. We have almost every soccer field marked out except for Alley's big field, which we'll do tomorrow. And we will line, since we've got good weather, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. So in theory, the soccer fields, baseball fields, and everything will be up and fully functionable by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest.
That's great, Sam. Yeah, we did have some nice weather that helped with that, I would assume.
This is the earliest we've been able to pull
Yeah.
something like this off.
Yeah. What's the start date for those seasons?
Baseball started already. They started practicing. I know. Yeah, they started this week. Some of them started last week.
Yeah. What's the start date for the youth soccer programs?
That's going to be
April sometime?
yeah, mid-April.
Mid-April.
I think they want to practice now. That's why we're getting them up and running. We'll get the goals out. But Garen told me, I think it's April 10th are the first games.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow,
Well,
that seems really early.
That's for the those are for the traveling ones, not the rec ones.
Gotcha.
The
gotcha.
traveling ones won't start until like May.
The rec ones, you mean?
The rec ones, yeah.
Mhm.
Like the Portage Youth League and the rec ones.
Okay.
Mhm.
all right. Sam, anything else on there?
I don't know. We got a new dump truck delivered 2 days ago that I ordered 13 months ago. It's
Well,
like
better
the
late than never.
COVID is what I heard forever. And then it finally got delivered. So we'll get that up and functioning.
Yeah.
I think it's insured now, so we can actually start to use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Blaming COVID, I suspect, is something that's going to be easy to do for a little while.
Just a little longer though, not
Yeah.
too much more.
Yeah, but it's probably going to be a common.
Yeah.
I don't like to say excuse. It's probably in a lot of cases, it's a justifiable reason. I would think. All right, thanks, Sam. Nancy's just stepped away and she's back.
Woo, that was great.
I come and go, come and go.
That's all right. Recreation report, Nancy.
Yeah, so we have everything up and going. Youth soccer, we already said that. We're going to be having our coaches meetings. Garen will be doing those. Baseball and softball, we now have all of our sponsors plus our major sponsor. Everything is going to be up and going for that. And our egg hunt unfortunately had been canceled. Shame. I mean, I tried.
Yeah,
You
what
know,
happened, Nance? I thought you had a really great plan.
I know. So I sent the information to Joan and I didn't realize that they were canceling all the egg hunts. So what I did was I explained to her in detail about all the safety measures that we were
Yeah.
taking place and that we were only going to allow 250 kids and they were going to be at different parks and all. And so I explained all that in detail. And she said, she goes, well, I'm going to present this to a meeting that she was going to have. I don't know who with, like the state of Ohio health commissioners or whatever. And then she said, so I don't know.
I thought it was a really good plan and that you had taken all the safety measures into account. I'm surprised that
I'm
that
sorry, I'm
happened.
listening. I'm just getting up and
No, that's
my
great.
talk's
That's
quiet.
great. No, I'm surprised that it was turned down because I thought that you had everything in there that would keep it
Yes,
safe.
and
And
yeah, I shared all those details with her and I said, you know, we're going to keep everybody separated. We're going to have enough eggs for everybody to go out. I mean, there wasn't any reason that there was going to be a big group of people. And she just, you know, she said, I am really sorry, Nancy, but the answer is no. And I thought, oh gosh.
Was that
We had
Jones,
our-
Seidel?
JCs were on board. They were going to give us our sponsor again this year. You know, we even asked for volunteers for that. So I just emailed them back and said, I apologize, but the cancel and hopefully you'll sponsor next year, which I'm sure they will.
Yeah, it did sound like a nice idea, I thought.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing to hear
It
that.
was very disappointing.
Doesn't sound like it would be any different numbers than like a high school sporting event either. I mean, at each site, I don't understand why.
I think they were just all about canceling all Easter egg hunts. I said, well, please share this,
Fight against
our
each other.
idea. I mean, you know, if we're limiting it to 250 and
Right.
only 50 at each, so I don't know. I guess, I mean, you know, Joan can give a better explanation as to what she presented. I gave her all the information, so I'm not really sure.
yeah, that's crazy.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So Nancy, I passed on some information about a grassroots coaching education workshop for youth soccer coaches. I think Garen was going to take it. I'm just wondering if he
said he had taken it previously. I met with him. He
Yeah,
said that he had taken it previously. He was going to do it again.
He
And
did
he
say
was
that,
sharing it.
yeah.
Yeah, he was sharing it with all of the coaches, whether they do it or not. I mean, you know, I'm not sure if any of them did take it. So
Once we get back to fully face-to-face type stuff, that's probably something we could actually bring to Kent. I think the cost of that grassroots program, it's a 2-hour classroom and 2-hour field sort of workshop, so 4 hours total, but then coaches get access to 24 practice plans. It's not like, you know, they're not getting anything other than a little piece of paper saying they've done it. They'll get some
Right.
practice plans as well. We could probably bring that to Kent.
that's a great idea.
I think the nominal cost is $20 a head. So if we could find a way to fund that we wouldn't have to charge the coaches, you know, just as a show of our appreciation. I think
And that would go a long way, I think, towards providing that continuity. And, you know, every kid is getting a similar experience and getting the same kinds of instruction and that would be great.
And then, you know, I think the coaches will then, from an authoritative source, get information on what is considered to be best practice, rather than somebody like me or Garen or Nancy, you saying, we think you ought to be doing this, you ought to be doing that. And some of these people that have coached for a long, long time doesn't make them good coaches. They could have been coaching badly for a long, long time, but because they've been coaching for a long time, you know, their feeling is that they're doing everything fine. And some may be, but, you know, I think we all know that there are plenty that are not. So
Right.
That's something maybe to look at. It's probably too late now to, you know, I don't
I
know
think
that you can
Kieran was going to
mandate
get that
anyway.
out. Yeah, and I think he was going to get it out to all of the soccer coaches. So, but I just don't know how many of them actually did it.
Right.
So,
Maybe it's
but
something we
in
can
the
look.
in the future, if there's like a pot of money, if you
Mhm.
want to set aside like a pot of money to do all of that, those kind of certifications for the coaches, I'm sure that they would really appreciate that, so that they don't have, because, you know, they're volunteer coaches and,
Exactly.
you know, they don't, you know, they may just want to step in because, you know, we're begging them to coach. You know, we don't have a coach. Can you please do it? And, you know, and they're like, okay, but they don't want to put all the time they only have so much limited time. So
Yeah.
I think that that would be something very beneficial.
Yeah, might be worth exploring in the summer.
And
Do we know if there are similar type programs for the other sports that we offer, like baseball, for example, basketball?
yeah, so I mean, you can do it across the board. Like, I mean, a lot of our coaches are coaches that coach multiple sports. So they may only have to do it once. So, you know, they may not have to take that same class over. So that money may cover several sports. But one of the things that we have provided, basketball, we have a coach's manual that the high school coach, the coaches have worked together so that we provide that to them, so that, you know, they have a manual that says, okay, at this age, you should be doing this, at this age, you should be, you know, doing these skills. And so, you know, we've been putting in more and more of that, you know, with the sport, so that they can have, the coaches can have the support from the high school coaches.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I just think anytime you can show that we're trying to be consistent across all the teams, nobody's getting favoritism and all that, that goes a long way, as you well know, Nancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Nancy, anything else you want us to focus on in the report?
You know, as all of you know, I'm sure Melanie, right? Have you shared everything?
Sorry about that. Yes, I have, but if you would like to announce it now, I was going to cover it in my report, but please feel free.
Yeah, so I just want to thank all of you. You know, as all of you know now, I have resigned. I'm going to, I'm moving to Florida.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that. And I met with the staff. I've created a year-long sheet of everything that we do. I think that there'll be a seamless transition with you know, the staff that are there, and they know you know, the ins and outs, and I'm sure some of the things that, you know, they don't, but I told them, I said, you always feel free to call me. I'm going to miss everybody. I'm going to miss
What
my
part of
staff.
Florida? What part of Florida, Nancy?
I'm going to Tampa.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes. I'm moving April 28th.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So
Although, on a day like this, I'm just shocked that you would choose Florida.
right,
But,
right. I know.
Nancy,
So,
I mean, Nancy, let me speak as somebody who's known you since you took the position. I remember your very first, I think it was a summer. I was playing in the tennis leagues and I met you down at the tennis courts, probably in your first week. You know, so from a personal standpoint, you'll be very much missed, and I think across the whole department, you will certainly be very missed. And Karen, can we make sure, please, that we note in the minutes our appreciation for Nancy's, what is it, 18, 19, 20 years of service?
it'll be 19 May. It would have been 19 May 15th.
wow.
Well, we'll give her the extra month or so. And for Nancy's, you know, thanks and appreciation for Nancy's 19 years of service, and our very best wishes for her
Thank you, Steve.
in the future, both personally and professionally.
Thank you.
We will miss
It's
you
been a
greatly.
pleasure working with you all those years, Steve. And, you know, we had some good times.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of took a few years off, but at least I'm in
You
on
did.
the end of your time there. So, you know, thank you very much.
Thank
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And Megan wants to give her
you.
report.
Megan.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. We've got our next babysitters training coming up, which is full. That'll be at the rec center. And I did want to make a correction on that. I put KPR officer Matt Butcher. KPD. That was my fault. So he actually knows our program pretty well over there at the rec. His daughter is attended before school care. He's the officer that's going to come over and talk to the kids in the babysitter training. As we had discussed, Melanie mentioned just having our kids work with the police in the community since that situation happened with the babysitter and that young child. So we're excited about that. And then what's that? The kids are going back to school after spring break, Tuesday through Friday. So our numbers are increasing a little bit. We're getting some kids come back to the after school program that we haven't seen in a year, because we are offering care every day for those kids now, before and after. They will continue a consistent schedule. We're going to split them up into small groups. We have 2 classrooms at both DV and rec. So there'll still be small groups of about 10 kids. So that's exciting, getting more kids for that. Kids Night Out came back last month. That's something we haven't had in a year, and it was actually full. That was very unexpected. I guess parents needed to get rid of their kids. And then we had 2 trained babysitters from our babysitters training come help out with that. So that was cool. We've got spring break childcare coming up at the rec center for all K through 6th graders. They don't have to be in our current before and after school program. So we've got some new kids attending that. Right now we have about 14 in that program, and it runs 6:30 to 6. First year we're doing it at the preschool. We're at 8 kids right now, so we're getting there. We have another week for that, but that'll be an extended preschool from 9 to 2 for 3 days over break. Our centers are getting inspected around now. We just had a state inspection at the rec and the preschool. Davy is coming up soon, and they're going pretty well. Everything's low risk non-compliances, so nothing major that we have to worry about, and the staff are doing really well. And then we've got summer camp registration coming up. I'm completing details on that within the next week. 2 major things I really had to look at whether or not we were going to add because of COVID. Last summer, we did not swim at all at the pool. I have talked to James Hunt, Jim Sawyers, and then Nancy and I talked to Justin Smith at the health department, just to make sure that swimming would be safe again for the kids. And we all agreed that a group of 32 kids at our camps is enough space in that size of a pool to spread them out enough so they can be socially distanced. So that's really good news that we're going to be able to swim again. And then I just took a tour of Kent Social Services. They have some renovations going on. Our kids used to volunteer there before COVID, our rec kids in the summer. So I met with Marquise, who's in charge over there, and she showed me around, and that way I'll be able to explain exactly to the parents how safe the kids are going to be there. They're mainly going to be in the pantry area when the truck gets delivered, putting away the food. So they're not going to be around any community members, definitely while COVID's going on. So we're excited to bring that back too.
What's going on with Junior Exped? I see that down here.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so with the Junior Exped, we are still waiting. I met with Chris Lucas, and they are on board for the Exped program.
Because I remember you weren't sure about that a couple of weeks ago.
We weren't, and we still
month.
aren't. Yes. Well, I just got an email today. They are still did not make a decision yet of opening back up. Chris is pretty confident that they will, but the university still has not released that. So until that we get that information, I told them we needed to know before April 1st, since our registration opens up. We'll know about the pool, we'll know about the staff, we'll know about, us going and doing all of those things. So we had said that we would do a lot of the same activities that we did 2 years ago. So he's hoping, we're hoping. It looks promising, he said, but at the same time, we just don't have the official word yet.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Megan. Anything else to add, or are we good? All right. So on to the interim director report, Melanie.
Thank you. So I quickly just wanted to reiterate where we are with the director's application process. As of the last meeting, we had narrowed the list down to 8 applicants. The board was able to interview all 8 applicants on February 22nd and 23rd, at which point we met that following Friday and narrowed the list of 8 down to 4. We then set a date of March 15th, this past Monday, to interview all 4 of those candidates. In the meantime, one of those candidates did drop out. So we actually interviewed 3 candidates this past Monday. They did answer a couple questions prior to, and then we had about an hour and a half with each candidate. We will be meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. In executive session to discuss where we go with these 3 candidates and how we'll proceed for the next level of discussion and interview process. So that's where we are. We're continuing to try and stay on task with the hopes of being able to make a decision, I'm assuming, by early or mid-April. So hang in there. It's a little bit longer, and we'll get you there, I promise. The next item that I'd like to talk about is the Middlebury boat ramp. I wanted to bring this to the park board. The staff has been gracious to work with me on this. We, being the service side of this, so my other hat, our engineering department has been working for almost 11 years on what's called the Southwest Pump Station. And there's a pump station located on Middlebury Road at 1296 Middlebury Road. We've been working desperately to combine that as well as our Yakavona plant into one. And what that's going to do is require us to rip up Middlebury Road, basically from Akron Road to the boat ramp area, almost to the bridge. We'll be installing all new sanitary sewers, getting rid of a pump station, so we have to lower the sewers, and rebuilding the Middlebury Road. So having to do that, Middlebury Road will be closed for a duration of approximately 90 days this summer, right in front of the boat ramp. So the use of that boat ramp is going to be very hindered this year because of our construction. So we did try to work with a local person to have some sort of an event. And we, from the service side, we're going to try and keep that open. In the meantime, we did receive notice. There's a small sliver of land in front of the boat ramp that is privately owned. That private property owner at the time that I had sent out this memo was did not want to have use of that or crossing over on that private property. So for that reason as well, I just decided that we would not host any events. With that said, we did have a follow-up meeting today with the law director, myself, and the city engineer, and we're going to work through a couple of things with that property owner. We don't have all the details yet, so I don't have a lot to share with the board, but it is looking positive that maybe not this summer, but in the future, we'll be able to utilize that boat ramp again. But with that said, again, between the construction, the closure, the danger of the lanes, one-way traffic, we'll be very limited with the use of that boat ramp if we use it at all this year. So we're going to also have to make sure that we notify any local groups and do a little bit of public education, both through the service as well as through Parks and Rec, that if people get in at Tannery Park, getting out on Middlebury will be extremely difficult, and there'll be really no room or availability to pick up your kayaks or boats at that point. So I will
ask a question real quick, Melanie.
Sure.
So it sounds like anybody that puts in at Tannery, their only option then is to go all the way to Monroe Falls.
Correct. Yes.
And or Waterworks if they want to go that extra piece there. So, okay. I'm wondering, can we utilize, Jake, don't tell the neighbors I said this. Can we utilize the Riverbend boat area for some of that and then take them out at Tannery just for this summer?
Absolutely. My understanding is Riverbend is actually an area that's already being utilized for boats to go in, and then they either come out at Tannery or they came out at this location. So
I wasn't sure that they brought in, like, for example, the Kent State Adventure group that ran. I didn't think they came into the neighborhood with their vans and boats and things.
I don't believe large entities like that do that at all. I would not suggest that that be an appropriate use at that particular point, because again, that's more of a residential. That would be something smaller where our residents are looking to get in and maybe have a longer look at it. Mm-hmm. I think that just for this year, for the safety of everybody, it's better off that we just say that this boat ramp is closed. And so any activity that would be either an in or an out at that location just cannot take place.
Okay. So is anything happening then with the Kent State group? Are they going to try and open up again this year? Have we heard anything from them as far as putting in boats at the Tannery?
I have not heard anything. I didn't have this final information until
Okay.
today. And so I had not asked staff to reach out. Nancy, I don't know if you've heard anything from Kent State at this point.
I had mentioned, I had mentioned it to Chris, that there may be some issues there. And I think, again, they were waiting, you know, it's a waiting game for them with the university. So that's one issue is the university. And now the other issue is going to be the boat ramp. And if they put in at, Riverbend, you know, we have to remember that's going to be more for the, experienced
Right.
kayakers.
Right,
and
because of the
canoers.
whitewater, that's right.
Because of whitewater, so that may become a limited part. So I'm not sure. So everything is still up in the air with them.
Yeah, at least until we get that section down in near Main Street there where it's easier for them to take out. That's part of this next project, but yeah, okay.
So I think the presence of the whitewater there in the downtown is you know, the exact reason we don't encourage it. In fact, I would say we discourage it, because if everybody learns that they can put in at Riverbend and get out at Tannery, that's what they're probably going to do, because it's less distance for them to drive on the way back. If they're going all the way to Cuyahoga Falls, that's it's further for them to go on the river, but it's also further for them to get back. You'll have a lot of people taking that option of trying to get in at Riverbend and out at Tannery, and
right, and yeah, and people know that it's there. I mean, we don't hide the fact that it's a boat ramp, you know.
Right.
And people do come and put in there. I wasn't
How
sure.
many rescues did we have to do? What was that? 2 summers ago?
2 springs ago,
Seemed
really.
like every other weekend
That
there was
really
rescue.
rainy, and yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah. Melanie, what are the dates on that construction? Do we know yet?
We are out for bid currently right now, so we haven't entered into a contract, but it's 240 days. So our anticipated start on this will be, we're opening in April, May, probably the start of June, and it'll take us through the spring of next year.
Wow.
Wow.
Oof.
That's 6 months. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long project. And then following right behind that, Middlebury Road will be repaved.
That
So,
will not be a bad thing, because
Yes, exactly.
if ever you've ridden your bike up there, it's
a little rough.
nasty. A little rough is an understatement. Yeah.
And then the Kent PD is going to have to be sure and station their vehicles there, because people will be not going the 25 that is posted once that road is repaired.
That'd be nice if they could widen it at the same time, because it is.
Summit County has started their parking lot already.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
Good. All
So
right.
there are no more questions. Speaking of whitewater, we received an email from a gentleman by the name of Peter Bode, who asked for a letter of support from the city of Kent, and the city manager was kind enough to put that together at a short notice for what's a paddling improvement grant. And what it is they have asked to be able to place near the Main Street Bridge another water flow and level flow monitor into the river. So it's a real live time. So all kayakers and boaters will be able to get on their website and take a look to see what the water conditions are. And so basically what they're going to try and establish is a protocol of, like a traffic light, a red, yellow, green. Green means that it's good for all levels of people there. Yellow would be cautious, those with more experience. Waters are high, it will give you levels on that, as well as the velocity of the water. And then red would be not suggested to enter, or you would have to be an experienced kayaker or boater at that point. So there was no need for a matching grant. They thought initially we would have to match some sort of funding, ended up being no match. We thought this was a pretty exciting thing. Again, that helps. There are, I think he said 98 other ones on the entire Cuyahoga River. So these would just be 2 more that would be put in there to help close the gap. And there's one that would go here, and then one in Cuyahoga Falls by the Sheraton. So we did go ahead and do that, and we'll be waiting to hear from them when they go ahead and establish that. We're hoping to be able to have some sort of direct contact with it, specifically for our fire department, so that we can monitor what those water levels are and be a little more cautious should they rise, and just be a little more aware of what may or may not happen on the river.
There's no way for people to know other than going to the website.
Well, that's why we'd like to have access to that specific one, and then we'll probably provide a link on our websites for those that want to come in and do voting.
I was thinking, too bad we couldn't do something electronically so that in the Riverbend boat ramp it could show, hey, conditions are red today. Don't think about getting in and going downstream, you know.
It's certainly something we could take a look at for the future.
Mm-hmm.
But right now the intent is just to try and get it out there in a general sense.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
Awesome. So the next one is the Master Plan 2020. I received a call from Mr. Patrick, I believe you pronounce it Hoagland, from Branstetter Carroll, who was the person who started, I believe, last March and April with you, with the board, and beginning to look at the master plan with Mr. Schwarzkopf. As we all know, COVID kind of put a halt to that and it didn't move any farther forward. So he had asked me to at least touch base with the board to see if you are ready to get started again, if you'd like to still keep it on hold until you got a new director. They're kind of comfortable either way. They did recommend, though, that either way, whether we get moving again or you want to put it on hold, there is a committee, if you will, that is supposed to be formed, a steering committee. And he would recommend that the board at least start listing names of people outside of the 5 of you, or if there's only 3 of you that are going to sit on it and you're going to have 5 other people that make up that board, that a list at least be prepared so that some letters or conversations can happen with those outside folks. So I'm kind of looking at the board for some direction, thoughts. If you don't have any this evening, that's fine. We can follow up next month. But it's just a question as to what you would like to start up.
So my preference would be that we do wait until the new director comes on board. I'm okay talking about a committee, whether we invite people already. I think it's one thing to put together a list of names of people that we would approach, but again, I think I'd want input from a new director before we make those approaches. You know, we're really talking about the difference at this time of a few weeks. So, you know, given that we've been slowed up because of the pandemic to the extent that we have, a few weeks is not really going to make much of a difference. So perhaps we could make committee membership an agenda item for the next meeting. And maybe if board members, you would give this some thought in the meantime and shoot some names across to me, just send me an email. I'll compile that, and that can, you know, be a bit of a starting point for a brief discussion about it at the next board meeting.
One question
okay.
for Melanie. Is there any financial consideration about delaying or not delaying? Do the numbers change depending on when we decide to go forward or anything like that?
The contract was signed and set, and there was no ending date on it. Okay. So as far as that, there should be no additional cost from Branstetter Carroll.
Okay. And then the next question I have, Steve, is maybe either via email or here, perhaps we could talk about what kind of folks from the community do we think we would like to see on a steering committee? You know, where do we want representation? From which parts of the community, and so that we have a better direction in thinking about some names.
Yeah, well, I guess that was my intention with making it an agenda item for the next meeting. Mm-hmm. And so if it's premature to start sending me names, then I would say don't. But if any of you think of somebody that you absolutely think should be on it, mm-hmm. Feel free to let me know. And maybe that can form part of the conversation at the next meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, certainly I say that to the board staff members, if you have any thoughts on that as well, really strong thoughts,
yes.
You know, also feel free to, you know, to speak up about that.
Mm-hmm.
That okay?
My only suggestion while you're thinking about it is that to remember to be very broad stroked about it. So you're going to want to maybe include maybe representation from, you know, as far as like Kent State, I know that a senior center portion was kind of discussed a little bit about this, so you might want to look at that avenue or those, that type of group or people that might have exposure to that, as well as your youth. Again, you might want to have one or two other city offices also sit on it. So there's just a lot of things. Make sure that we're like looking at the whole thing. There's no number. I tried to look to see if there was a suggestion, but I certainly wouldn't suggest 60. But I think you're going to want to have more than maybe just the 5 of you sitting on it.
Well, yeah. And as you were running through those various groups, Melanie, it made me think that perhaps the whole of the board shouldn't be sitting on that committee. I mean, if we're adding a number of other people to a group of 5, presumably plus, or 1 or 2 staff members, the board, that committee is going to get pretty big pretty quickly. And, as I'm sure you all know, the bigger a committee, the more difficult decisions are to make. Yeah. So, maybe just 2 or 3 board members sit on the committee. We'll have our input and our discussions during board meetings anyway. So, maybe we don't all need to be on that. But again, perhaps a broader conversation next time around.
Yeah.
Once we've had a chance to give it some thought.
And Melanie, what you just said, that's kind of what I was looking for, was some suggestions about which of the areas of, like, how do we want to include people from what categories? So that was helpful.
And I know Ms. Rosenberg is on this Zoom meeting as well, but you're certainly going to want 1 or 2, maybe council representatives on there as well, who represent the whole of the community for sure.
Yeah.
Melanie,
yes.
Do they have to be residents?
I don't think there's anything in what Branstetter was showing out or showing what could be there, but it might be a good question to have the Branstetter representative be there. He might be able to give you some suggestions on that. I would say it depends on what you're looking at for that person. Again, you might have a professor that you want from Kent State that doesn't live in Kent proper, lives in Stowe or lives somewhere else, but would still be a good person to be on that board. So I don't know that I want to say, no, it has to be somebody from Kent, because again, you might find an employee, maybe a police officer or a fireman, that might be a good person to have on there as well, that isn't necessarily a Kent resident. So
I was thinking too, in terms of Franklin Township, because they utilize so many of our rec programs and our facilities, but on the other hand, they don't vote for a levy if and when we present, to the whole community something that we need. So yeah.
Right. And remember, this is for the master plan. So this is for you guys to develop a plan for the future growth for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years of your park system. So, I think what you just stated about having them sit on it is a great suggestion, because it isn't necessarily about having to vote on it, but it's what you guys want to see for your system in the next 10 to 20 years.
Okay. Thank you.
And perhaps that committee should be chaired by somebody not on the board. Would that make some sense, so that it doesn't become seen as a subcommittee of the board?
I think that's a great suggestion. That's up to you guys. Again, I know that I'm sitting on 2 other committees right now. One is for the university. And then one is for an outside group, and that's exactly what occurred when they got together. It's not, especially for the university one, it's actually an outside group that's spearheading it, that sits as the chair. So that might not be a bad idea.
Okay. All right. Well, more discussion on that during our April meeting. Okay.
I do have one other item that I need to bring to the board that occurred last night at council. There was a additional item placed on their agenda and then was actually approved. Community Development Director Bridget Susel has been working with the owners of 800 Mogador Road. As you know, when I got here in 2016, they had gained access to the park to do some remediation of contaminated soils that had leached from the 800 Mogador Road site. And they asked for re-entry again in 2019, and they came back and asked for re-entry again this year. The work won't take place until later this fall, which was good for me because I was a little nervous about baseball, especially where they want to go in behind the Kramer Fields. But what they do need to do is gain access through their existing facility and area. I don't have a clear plan yet. I don't think they have all of that worked out, but there is some additional remediation that needs to take place actually on the river, just outside of the area they had worked before. So Sam is going to be the contact person specifically for Kramer Field. We're waiting for Bridget to get that information to us. They did do, and they have begun a survey of the existing trees, bushes, and items that are there. That will be all logged. Anything that has to be removed will have to be replaced. We'll be working with the city arborist on that to make sure that we're getting a financial equal for equal, as well as any land disturbance will have to be remediated as well. So all of those things were covered in this, but it was a last minute add that unfortunately I didn't get this information to make the agenda because it came to us on March 12th. So I just wanted to bring the board aware of that so that in case you guys were asked or questioned when machinery and things begin to show up again, that's what's taking place there. I know that Sam, the city arborist, myself, and Miss Sousa will be meeting with them on site to ensure that there's not large equipment coming across the Kramer Bridge. Just because we're worried about the size of equipment that needs to come there. We were very concerned in 2016, and we'll have that same sense of heightenedness depending on what they're going to need for this excavation.
And
so
we'll for those members who are new, primarily Steve and Kathleen, are you guys aware of what went on there in that area she's describing?
Vaguely, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Sam, you want to give them a real quick assessment of what happened and what had to be done?
Yeah, basically they went in there, and I don't remember exactly how many cubic yards of dirt. They went in, removed it with like almost an amphibious type backhoe. They had to put it in containers. Each container was trucked out and taken to a site. The volume of dirt was immense. And they did have to come back in. They planted a whole bunch of trees, and they came in and refixed the parking lot for us. They did everything they were supposed to do. But the one thing we did have to watch, and Melanie said, it was them coming across the bridge, because it is a one-lane bridge. And I'm not kidding, when they came across a couple times, we only had 6 inches to spare on each side. It's a little nerve-wracking. So those are things, I mean, I've seen them do it before. They can do it. They do a nice job. They're very thorough. But I'm real curious of what volume they're taking out again and what they're trying to accomplish.
And they had to. It was necessitated because the company that used to be there had underground tanks, if I'm not mistaken, tanks and some dumping that had gone on over the many years that it had been there, and it was flowing into the river.
It was all contaminated.
Yeah, it was a mess.
And they had to go in across the bridge rather than from Mogador Road, yeah?
Yes, because the railroad tracks are in the way from the Mogador Road side. So you can't get across it, and then the drop into the river, there's no place for access. So again, I want to reiterate, it won't be taking land out of the park anymore. It's actually going to be remediating in an area just inside the actual river. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So as long as those tanks are buried on that side, can they not redevelop? Is that kind of the situation? I know the hotel has talked about that.
I think that they did remove the tanks, didn't they, Sam? At some point, didn't they remove the tanks?
It's been removed. This is stuff that's still in the soil, still leaching. And honestly, Jake, it might be leaching for a long time.
There were heavy metals, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, it's bad.
It's what they refer to as a legacy issue. And as Sam stated so eloquently, it's undetermined how long it will continue to leach. They did install, I know there's an area over there that was very badly contaminated that they installed, if you will, kind of like a bentonite wall, which is like a clay wall, in order to try and subside that from leaching over. So until it's all cleaned out, they'll continue to monitor it. And with that, I just personally want to thank Nancy for being so kind in these last 4 months and being patient with me. it was a whole new world to learn their payroll and who got what when. And I have to say, one of my most unfavorite jobs is doing POs and invoices. And she has politely reminded me twice now, and I will get on that this evening, Nancy, to approve some invoices. But I have enjoyed working with you. I'm sad to see you go, as I had stated before. But I had an opportunity to work with you when I first got here, and a few years after that, and then within the last couple months. And I just appreciate all the things that you have done for us. And thank you for your 20 years of service to the city of Kent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are very welcome.
Thank you. And that's all that I have to report.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the cause, folks? No, in that case, we'll have a motion to adjourn, please.
I think
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Neil. And a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you
tomorrow.
again,
Have a
see
good
you again next time.
Enjoy sunny Florida.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just us.
How to get out of this thing? What did I do?
Bottom red button end. Bottom across the bottom. You should have a menu popping up.
Something came up. My Flash player came up, and then it did something to my screen.
Well, I'm gonna end it.
I'm
So-
just a little box in the corner.
I think if I end it, you get to
I'm
go.
just clicking.